It is 10:12 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. It's the 8th day of April 2026, and this is episode 1295 of Bitcoin And with me, your host, David Bennett, bringing you news about Bitcoin from around the world and macro too. God knows we got a lot of it. Woo, doggy. We're going to start with Morgan Stanley. Yeah, I know. You were going to go, oh, he's going to start out with Iran taking Bitcoin. Yeah, we'll get to it. But the lead story for today is that Morgan Stanley's Bitcoin ETF opened for trading. Should be interesting, I guess. Then we're going to talk about this Iran shit. Are we going to actually see a sustained price fall or a sustained low price in oil? I mean, it's still up 65% from its, lows right before we started bombing brown people. Will it stay? Well, honestly, I don't know. It depends on this ceasefire. Is it above board? Everybody says it is. Trump says it is. And it seems that the Iranian foreign ministry says that it is. Yet Saudi Arabia's oil pipeline got bombed. Will this hold? Who knows? But in the meantime, Iran seems to want to take Bitcoin for a toll. It's a toll booth. It's a toll booth. It's going to be fun to see how this actually works because Iran really is eyeing crypto, at least, as a toll for oil tanker transits through the Strait. But some people are saying that they said Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, other outlets are saying that it's stablecoin only. Who freaking knows, man? I mean, we can't get anything out of anybody. I got a New York Times article comes out this morning naming Adam Back again as Satoshi Nakamoto. And people are losing their ever-loving minds about it, while yet another outlet is reporting on the New York Times article, and they misspelled Adam Back's name. They actually said Adam Black, and that's the Spectator. Right? I don't trust any of these people to give me any kind of news that's of any relevance whatsoever, so take it all with a grain of salt. White House Council of Economic Advisors, we will talk about what they're doing with stablecoin. They're saying that the yield might not threaten small banks. And then, well, quantum risks and Anthropic's mythos. I think this whole mythos thing is a marketing scheme. We shall see. Then in the second part of the show, NYT investigation suggests that Adam Back may be Satoshi. It's bullshit, but we'll get to it. And then there is a 16th round of Nostr grants out of OpenSats has been announced. And then Mila Jovovich, I never can pronounce her name right. Remember her from Resident Evil? Apparently she's an AI developer now. There's a reason I'm going to bring it to you. It has something to do with AI and how we're going to move forward in the future. But why not? I mean, if you ever saw Fifth Element or Resident Evil, you know who Mila Jovovich is. And she's now in AI. And we're going to end with the quantum attack and how much energy it would actually require to really screw around with Bitcoin mining. But let's talk about this Morgan Stanley business. Morgan Stanley's Bitcoin ETF opens today, giving BlackRock's $55 billion IBIT fund its toughest rival yet. This is out of CoinDesk, written by Helene Braun. BlackRock's most successful exchange-traded fund is facing its clearest challenger yet as Morgan Stanley rolls out a cheaper rival with direct access to trillions of dollars in client capital. Morgan Stanley's ETF, trading under the ticker MSBT for Morgan Stanley's Bitcoin Trust, began trading Tuesday with a 0.14% expense ratio. That's below the iShares Bitcoin Trust of 0.25%. The difference is narrow, but it lands in a market where price is one of the few levers investors can actually pull. Each spot Bitcoin ETF holds Bitcoin and tracks its price. that leaves costs, liquidity, and access to the main points of difference. IBIT has led on scale and trading activity since launch, becoming the most liquid vehicle for both shares and options tied to Bitcoin ETFs with roughly $55 billion in assets under management. That liquidity gives IBIT an edge that may be hard to replicate. Quote, the launch will impact things, but it will be interesting to see if it can actually siphon assets from the funds, said James Seifert, ETF analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence. Quote, IBIT is the most liquid ETF for trading, and in the options market, it's unlikely that MSBT will ever compete with that, at least not anytime remotely soon, end quote. Still, Morgan Stanley's entry changes the competitive balance. The bank can tap its vast wealth management network where advisors can shift client allocations with one single trade. In practice, that means new demand may be directed toward MSBT rather than existing funds like IBIT. Quote, distribution is king in the ETF space, and Morgan Stanley has that in spades with its army, a veritable army of wealth management, said Nate Garachi, president of the ETF store. Quote, combined with MSBT being the lowest cost spot Bitcoin ETF on the market, that's a strong recipe for success, end quote. Garachi added that MSBT, which uses undercuts, wow, hold on, this is a weird sentence. Garachi added that MSBT, which undercuts IBIT by 11 basis points, a gap large enough to draw attention from both investors and BlackRock. I would have reworded that. That's a really, really bad sentence. But IBIT's position reflects how the market has evolved. Early inflows favored large, trusted issuers with deep liquidity, and over time, as more trusted names have entered the market, fee sensitivity has grown. Morgan Stanley's launch may speed up that shift, even if IBIT retains its lead in trading volume. The result is a more defined split in the market. IBIT offers depth and liquidity for active traders. Newer entrants like MSBT compete on cost and distribution. Morgan Stanley's wealth management arm oversees trillions of dollars in client assets and has one of the largest advisor networks in the industry, giving the bank a steep advantage. As more capital moves through financial advisors rather than direct trading, that channel may carry increasing weight. For now, IBIT remains the benchmark, but with fees falling and new entrants targeting its positions, its grip on flows may face its first sustained test. That's the end of the article. So there's two things here. One, BlackRock may just cut their price. They may just go from 25 basis points to 15. Who knows? They've done very, very well with this Bitcoin trust, so they might be able to afford it. The other thing is the advantage that Morgan Stanley has with, and this is no bullshit, its army of wealth managers. You're talking about like 14 to 16,000 individual people that would be considered a wealth manager under the employment of Morgan Stanley. And each one of those represents hundreds to thousands of individual retail investors. And they've got a direct pipeline into spot Bitcoin ETF land. It's the 0.14% management fee is not as exciting as the army of wealth managers, the trillions of dollars of assets under management, and the hundreds of thousands to actually millions of customers that Morgan Stanley has. So how is the MSBT faring at this point? Well, the ticker is up on TradingView, and it started this morning, my time, trading at 6:30 a.m., and I'm on Pacific Daylight Time. Its high for the day was 20.72, and its low for the day has already gone down to 20.30. So we're talking about changes in a matter of pennies, right? Right now, it is trading at 20.58. So, yeah, it started out, the high was 2072, and now we're at 2058. We've got two red bars going straight down. Its first two bar performance, and the second two bars are basically in the green. Where it's going to take days to figure out what kind of performance issue that this has. But the ticker symbol is MSBT if you want to follow along. Now, on to Saudi Arabia, where their oil pipeline just got pounded. So this was today, right? This is today. This morning, I read the first news that Saudi Arabia's crucial east-west oil pipeline, currently its only outlet for crude exports, was hit by an Iranian attack. And other facilities in the kingdom were also targeted, an industry source told Reuters on Wednesday. The pipeline was diverting around 7 million barrels per day from the kingdom's oil heartland in the east to the Red Sea port of Yanbu after Iran effectively shuttered the Straits of Hormuz. Well, as we all know, we've got a deal. We've got a ceasefire. It happened last night, and we're all so happy about the end of the Iranian war. And yet I wake up this morning to two bits of news. One is that the pipeline got bombed. And they're saying, this is Reuters, by the way, they're saying it's an Iranian attack. Do we believe them? This now all needs to be called into question. Do we know it was an Iranian attack? If it was, and it occurred after the ceasefire, who responsible this? Because that can seriously undermine any kind of ceasefire hopes that we have on the table for this next 2 weeks. And if that ceasefire breaks, oil goes right back up to $110. And that's West Texas Intermediate. Right now, the price is being fairly suppressed down at around $89, $87 a barrel. This seems tenuous at best. But in the meantime, at least for today, Iran eyes crypto toll for oil tanker transits through the Strait of Hormuz, according to the Financial Times. This is CoinDesk, and it's written by Omkar Godbol, but they are reporting on the Financial Times article that came out this morning. Iran will collect crypto payments as transit fees from oil tankers passing through the Strait of Hormuz during the 2-week ceasefire with the U.S., an industry official told FT. Hamid Hosseini, spokesperson for Iran's Oil and Gas and Petrochemical Products Exporters Union, said that crypto-denominated tolls will be charged for fully loaded vessels as the nation seeks to, quote, monitor what goes in and out of the strait to ensure these 2 weeks aren't used for transferring weapons. Hosseini's comments signal Tehran's willingness to use cryptocurrency for toll payments, highlighting the expanding real-world use case of digital assets and high-stakes geopolitical developments. This isn't new. Nations at odds with the U.S. or its allies have long turned to crypto as a way to bypass traditional banking channels that leave a paper trail. Russia has indeed used cryptocurrency as part of broader efforts to evade Western sanctions, and in Iran's case, Tehran is exploring digital payments as it looks to unlock funds for rebuilding the war-destroyed infrastructure. The proposed framework will require tankers to notify cargo details to Iranian authorities via email, and the toll will reportedly be calculated at $1 per barrel of oil. Authorities will then instruct on how to settle the fee in digital assets, with officials citing Bitcoin as a potential payment method. Now, pausing to say they use the word Bitcoin right here in the CoinDesk article. I cannot gain access to the Financial Times article. I need to really know if the Financial Times said that the officials cited Bitcoin or if the officials cited cryptocurrency, because there's a difference. Continuing. Hosseini suggested that empty tankers would transit without charge, but fully laden vessels must comply with the reporting and crypto payment process before being cleared for passage. Quote, once the email arrives and Iran completes its assessments, vessels are given a few seconds to pay in Bitcoin, ensuring they can't be traced or confiscated due to sanctions, he said. The comment also indicated Tehran may direct traffic along the northern route of the strait close to its coastline, a move that could raise questions about whether Western and Gulf-linked shipping firms are prepared to navigate the risky Iranian waters. So everybody, that's the end of the article. That's everybody's saying they want Bitcoin. Do they? Can we confirm that? Did they actually use the word Bitcoin? Because if not, well, it changes things slightly. One thing that I do know is that they definitely are saying that they want to take cryptocurrency. Okay, that's pretty much kind of not in dispute. If they actually use the word Bitcoin, then it makes it a little bit, it basically is kind of telling the world, we kind of prefer Bitcoin, we'll take the rest of this stuff. Other outlets are saying that they want stablecoin, and that actually makes a lot of sense too. I get where they're coming from on that, except it's been demonstrated time and time again that stablecoin isn't exactly a situation where you are in complete control of it. I've seen wallet addresses get blackballed, right? So you're kind of playing with fire there. Only Bitcoin can actually do the deed that you seek to actually get done. We're going to have to see how that one shakes out. Then over at the White House, speaking of stablecoin, White House Council of Economic Advisors say that stablecoin yield does not threaten small banks. This is from Stephen Graves out of Decrypt. White House economists have concluded that banning cryptocurrency firms from offering stablecoin rewards would have minimal impact on community banks, boosting their lending by just 0.026%, despite industry warnings of catastrophic deposit losses. The Council of Economic Advisors released an analysis on Tuesday weighing in on the heated debate between traditional banking and advocates for crypto yield products. And according to their economic modeling, banning stablecoin rewards would boost bank lending by $2.1 billion at a net welfare cost of $800 million, which is an increase in lending of 0.02%. Community banks would conduct just 24% of that additional lending, amounting to $500 million, a 0.026% increase on current figures. Even stacking every worst case assumption, requiring the stablecoin market to grow sixfold, the report's authors noted that community banks would only see a 6.7% lending increase, or $129 billion. The council's view contrasts starkly with banking industry rhetoric, with the Independent Community of Bankers of America warning that small banks risk losing $1.3 trillion in deposits and $850 billion in loans if legislation enabling yield on stablecoin is passed. Quote, the conditions for finding a positive welfare effect from prohibiting yield are similarly implausible, they wrote, adding that a block on stablecoin yield would, quote, do very little to protect bank lending while foregoing the consumer benefits of competitive returns on stablecoin holdings, end quote. The report comes as the Clarity Act, which would either ban third-party stablecoin rewards or establish their legal framework, has languished in Congress for months amid fierce lobbying from both the banking and crypto sectors. The White House has actively brokered negotiations on stablecoin policy in recent months as the financial services industry remains divided. Banking trade groups maintain that unrestricted stablecoin yield threatens their deposit base and lending capacity, particularly for smaller institutions serving rural communities. The stablecoin yield debate has intensified as crypto firms increasingly compete with traditional banking services. Senator Cynthia Lummis urged banks to embrace stablecoin in February amid the stalemate over the Clarity Act. Lawmakers have indicated that crypto market structure legislation faces a key vote in April, with a May deadline for passage. And meanwhile, traditional banks are moving into crypto custody services while simultaneously lobbying against yield-bearing stablecoin products. That's the end of the article. And of course, that's what they're doing. They're moving into crypto custody services at the same time they are lobbying against yield-bearing stablecoin products because they haven't moved fully into crypto custody services yet. They want to be able to offer that yield. They want to be able to compete. And they're not there yet. This is just a stalling campaign. I guarantee you a year from now, the banking lobby will be singing a completely different tune. But for right now, they're fighting tooth and nail. And even the White House Council of Economic Advisors is saying, why are you fighting so hard? This is not going to do a damn thing for you. The banks already know this. The banks know that they're not going to get that much out of it if they successfully stall this permanently. And they have no intention of stalling this permanently. They want to be able to offer that shit too. They won't be able to compete as well because of their bloated ass administration and all their overhead that they've gotten themselves into over the past 15 decades or whatever. But they're going to offer it. But they want to be able to be first to the plate. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they are on a playing field that is more conducive to their success than anybody else's. But they're not there yet. You know, they should all relax. And one of the best ways to do that is with Bitcoin beans and a big old 1 pound bar of chocolate. Bitcoin beans takes proof of work from the mine to your mug. Regeneratively grown Colombian cacao, hand-selected by farmers paid in Bitcoin, lab-tested for purity and priced in Satoshis. This is a whole bean cacao. It's not candy, it's food. It's a proof of work that you can taste. Bitcoin beans, find it at bitcoinbeans.co. That's bitcoinbeans.co. Use the code BitcoinAnd for a 5% discount. And invest in your health like you invest in Bitcoin. This cacao is nutrient dense. It's got a bunch of magnesium, lots of antioxidants, theobromine, natural energy and mood support is what chocolate, one of the things that chocolate's always been about. Why do you think chicks always go to like chocolate when they're upset? Because it's calming. There's a chemistry involved in chocolate that nobody gives any mind to because we keep shoving 5-pound bags of sugar into it here in the West. But pure 100% chocolate is a different beast altogether. If you're thinking this is a Hershey's bar, think again. This is chocolate. It's food. Get yours at bitcoinbeans.co. Use BitcoinAnd to receive a 5% discount. Move over Bitcoin and quantum risks. Anthropic's Mythos AI could have major implications for DeFi. Well, according to the stories that were dropping yesterday, Mythos has like some serious issues for everything. CoinDesk, Shara Malwa is writing this one. Anthropic has built an AI model that can autonomously find and exploit zero-day software vulnerabilities at a level the company says surpasses decades of human security research in every automated tool in existence. A closer look at its prowess suggests potential threats to crypto DeFi. Let's start by discussing its capabilities, shall we? Like finding a needle in a million haystacks, the model, Claude Mythos Preview, has a knack for uncovering software bugs that have long eluded human experts. It found a 27-year-old bug in OpenBSD, an operating system built specifically to be a hard-to-hack system for under $50 in compute. It found a 16-year-old flaw in FFmpeg, the video software that powers most of the internet's streaming infrastructure, that had been scanned 5 million times by automated security tools without anyone catching it. It even wrote a browser exploit that chained 4 separate vulnerabilities together to break through 2 levels of security. And it took a publicly known Linux vulnerability and turned it into a full working attack in under a day for under $2,000, a job that would normally take a skilled human researcher weeks. This has raised alarm bells in the tech industry, and rightfully so, as Mythos already exists, is operational, and is uncovering vulnerabilities in code protecting user funds that no human or tool has found in 27 years. This stands in stark contrast to recent fears about quantum computing risks to Bitcoin, which remain largely theoretical. The findings that matter most for crypto are in Anthropic's technical blog, which says Mythos found security flaws in what the company calls the world's most popular cryptography libraries, including TLS, AES GCM, and SSH. These are critical for internet security, securing HTTPS connections, encrypting data, and allowing developers to remotely access servers that support DeFi and exchange infrastructure. Flaws, or bugs in these, could let someone forge certificates or decrypt private communications. The risk is particularly high for decentralized finance protocols, or DeFi, which are open source software. Their code is publicly readable by anyone, including a model like Mythos that can autonomously catalog every single weakness in a code base at machine speed for near zero marginal cost. And while the roughly $200 billion locked in smart contracts across Ethereum, Solana, and other chains has been audited by humans and automated scanners, Anthropic claims Mythos operates beyond both. The company noted that, quote, migrations whose security value comes primarily from friction rather than hard barriers may become considerably weaker against model-assisted adversaries, end quote. Multi-sig governance, which requires multiple people to approve a blockchain transaction, time locks which delay a transaction for a set period, and audit reports as proof of security are all friction-based defenses. In simple terms, it means that these measures slow things rather than blocking an attack at the code level. So far, it hasn't rattled market valuations. The CoinDesk DeFi Select Index has actually gained 7% in 24 hours, outperforming Bitcoin and Ether as the temporary ceasefire between the US and Iran has bolstered risk sentiment. But looking ahead, traders may want to keep an eye not just on macroeconomic factors, but also on developments around Mythos, given its potential implications for software and blockchain security. All things said, the Mythos model will not be released to the general public yet, and is instead shared with a select bunch of 40 software giants such as Google, Apple, Microsoft, under Project Glasswing. Okay. There's a lot about this. First of all, do we believe it? Do we believe that Mythos is so powerful that it was able to do all this? And believe me, I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm actually making the assumption that yes, it can. Or maybe they've exaggerated it just a little bit, which brings me to my second point. Marketing. They're saying that Mythos is so powerful and it's so cheap to run and it's so fast that it can find 27-year-old bugs, 16-year-old bugs, do all kinds of stuff, and be able to crack layers of security 2-3 levels deep that provide us with HTTPS and FFmpeg, and Netflix runs on it, and oh my God, we're all going to die. But it's so powerful that we're not going to release it to the public. Ladies and gentlemen, this is marketing. It doesn't mean that it doesn't make it not true. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that this is this can be used as one hell of a marketing campaign. There was a game, and I can't remember the computer game. What was it? Crisis. That's it. I was thinking about this morning. Crisis. I don't know if you've heard of the video game. This was a big deal in 2010, 2015. somewhere around, basically like last decade and a half. When Crisis first came out, the way they marketed it was this: you don't have a computer heavy enough, beefy enough to run this game. It's the most beautiful graphics. It's the smoothest mechanics. Everything about this thing is so beautiful that it takes a GPU that, I swear to God, one of the advertisements was, a GPU doesn't exist to run this game at full capacity, at its full potential. All right, that's a marketing campaign. You can't have it. We built this game and you can't run it. You're too poor to be able to buy a computer that can even approach running this game. That's what this sounds like. Another marketing campaign that happened in the 80s sounds like it too. Coca-Cola. If you may not remember, many of my listeners probably do. We are releasing a new recipe for Coca-Cola. Your favorite original recipe is going away next year. That happened. They introduced this thing called New Coke. It was a new recipe. Doing away with the history of Coca-Cola altogether. You're never going to be able to get another can of it, another bottle of it. You'll never have this again. That was a marketing, advertising scheme. And they made good on it, but basically only after everybody panic bought as much original recipe Coke as they possibly could. I remember walking into people's garages and they had like 8 cases of bottles stacked up. Their shelves were fucking empty. You couldn't buy. By the time New Coke was due to be out, like a couple of months after that, you couldn't find a Coca-Cola anywhere. You'd find Diet Coke or whatever it is that they had, but you couldn't find a regular Coke. It was all gone. And then they released New Coke and everybody hated it because it wasn't good. That lasted for a year, and then they brought Coca-Cola back as the original. They put the name Original on it. Original Coca-Cola. It was all a marketing ploy. They had absolutely no intention of forever and yawn never having Coca-Cola again. And it worked. They sold every can of Coke that was on every shelf around the world, and they did it inside of 6 months. Then they released this crappy ass recipe, and it didn't cost them all that much to actually do. Nobody really wanted it. And then when Original Coke came back, sales were through the roof. People were panic buying original Coca-Cola because they were scared that it was actually going to go away again. This mythos thing sounds very, very familiar. Again, I'm not saying that what they claim isn't true. I don't know. One thing that I do know is that humans have been able to find so much wrong with what's going on in decentralized finance and these smart contracts and these ability to do flash loans and all kinds of stuff. If what the guys at Anthropic are saying is even 10% true about Mythos, if you have anything to do with DeFi, get out. I've been telling people that before I even heard about Mythos. But if, like I said, if what Anthropic says is even 10% true, the amount of carnage that's going to go on probably in the Ethereum ecosystem in Solana, as well as all the DeFi shit, it's going to be a bloodbath. We'll see. But until then, we'll run the numbers. CNBC futures and commodities. And speaking of bloodbaths, energy futures looks like it went through a wood chipper. Brent North Sea down 13% to 95.38 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate down 15 and a quarter to 95.71. Natural gas is down 5.5% to $2.71 per thousand, and gasoline is down 8.7% back to $3.01 per gallon. Murban crude is down 18.7% itself to 96 $1,296 a barrel. Metals are screaming, on fire. Palladium up 9.25%. Gold is up 1.7%, so not much fun there. $4,767.07. Platinum is up 6 1/3. Silver is up 4.7% to $75.38, and copper is up 3 2/3. Ag is fully mixed today. Biggest winner is chocolate, 5% to the upside. Biggest loser is wheat, 2.7% to the downside. Live cattle down 1/10 of a point. Lean hogs down 1/2. Feeder cattle up 1/10 of a point. Indices are happy today in the equities market. S&P is up 2.4%. NASDAQ is up 3%. The Dow is up 2.5%, and the S&P Mini is up 2.8%. Meanwhile, we got a bump in Bitcoin. It's chilling out at $71,890 a coin. That's a $1.44 trillion market cap. We can now purchase 15.2 ounces of our favorite shiny metal rock with our one Bitcoin, of which there are 20,012,960.53 of. Average fees per block are 0.02 BTC. And 27 blocks carrying 34,000 unconfirmed transactions waiting to clear at high priority rates of 1 sat per VByte. I'm seeing a lot of consolidation transactions going through right now. 0.1 Satoshi per VByte gets you in at low priorities. Hash rate is at 952 exahashes per second, so essentially the same as it was yesterday. And from Caveman Speak, yesterday's episode of Bitcoin And, I got Jason High with 250 sats says ooga booga. Nick Dose with 186 says cheers. And Nostr Gang with 101 says 5 stars on Spotify is done. Thank you, Nostr Gang. That is amazing. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the time you took to go do that. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. It all helps. It really does. That's the weather report. Welcome to part 2 of the news that you can use. Oh, by the way, in 8 minutes from now, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell will wear a tie and a nice-looking suit, stand in front of a podium, and probably scare the living piss out of the rest of the world. So be aware, that's in 8 minutes from now. But we've got other fish to fry, and his name is Adam Back. NYT investigation suggests Mr. Back may be Satoshi Nakamoto. He denies the claim. This is Brian Danga from The Block. The New York Times on Wednesday published an investigative report suggesting British cryptographer Adam Back may be Satoshi Nakamoto, citing similarities in writing patterns. Say that again. They cited similarities in writing patterns as their proof. However, the report, which draws on a database of 134,308 posts from cypherpunk mailing lists, stops short of actually declaring Back as the inventor of the $1.4 trillion benchmark cryptocurrency. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist John Carreyrou said he spent a whole year of his life, digging through thousands of decades-old internet postings, court records, and email caches to build the case. Carreyrou narrowed a pool of 620 early cryptographic mailing list users down to a single suspect using a range of writing tics, including hyphenation errors and spelling variations, he wrote in the report. The trail began with a scene in the 2024 HBO documentary Money Electric, The Bitcoin Mystery. Back sat on a park bench in Riga, Latvia, and tensed up when the filmmaker mentioned his name as a possible Satoshi, the report said. Carreyrou, who said he has developed expertise in detecting deception, said that Back's demeanor, including his reaction in the interview, raised suspicions. And that led him to the cypherpunk mailing list archives, where Back had been a vocal participant since 1995, he noted. Carreyrou said he discovered that Back had outlined all 5 core features of Bitcoin in 1997 cypherpunk posts, which went live a decade before the white paper. He proposed an electronic cash system entirely disconnected from modern banking that would preserve payer and payee privacy, operate on a distributed network, maintain built-in scarcity, and require no trust in any bank, Carreyrou wrote. Back also anticipated elements of Bitcoin's solution to the Byzantine generals problem, wrote of nodes that could come and go without affecting network operations, and proposed using Hashcash, his own invention, to mint Wei Dai's B-Money coin, Carreyrou noted. And Satoshi later cited both Hashcash and B-Money in the Bitcoin white paper. However, Back has consistently denied that he is Satoshi. In the earlier HBO documentary, he denied the claim and asked that the conversation be kept off the record. When Carreyrou later emailed Back requesting metadata from emails Back produced during the Craig Wright trial, Back didn't even respond to the 2 separate requests. This is not the first time someone has claimed to have identified Satoshi Nakamoto. The HBO documentary, which aired in 2024, singled out Peter Todd, the Canadian software developer, as Satoshi Nakamoto, and the film's evidence centered on a 2010 BitTalk thread where Todd corrected Satoshi on a technical point, which the documentary speculated was Satoshi finishing his own thought. Todd quickly denied that he was Nakamoto with a post on X. Other suspects in the years have included Nick Szabo, Hal Finney, and Len Sassaman. Finney was photographed running a 10-mile race in April 2009 at the same time Satoshi was sending emails in Bitcoin to another recipient, according to the New York Times investigation. Both Finney, who died of ALS in 2014, and Sassaman, who died by suicide in 2011, were deceased when a message attributed to Satoshi appeared in August 2015, though its authenticity has been disputed. Meanwhile, some individuals have falsely claimed to be Satoshi, like Craig Wright, an Australian computer scientist. He spent years asserting that he was the creator. In a May 2024 ruling, the High Court in London found that Wright lied extensively and repeatedly, deployed clumsy forgeries on a grand scale, and used technobabble to support his claim. In December 2024, Wright received a 1-year suspended prison sentence for contempt of court after he continued to sue Bitcoin developers in violation of a court order. Satoshi Nakamoto has not been heard of publicly or from publicly since the end of April 2011. The creator is believed to hold 1.1 million Bitcoin. Okay, all right. This is also not the first time that Adam Back has been pointed at as Satoshi Nakamoto. In fact, he's been pointed at several times. Peter Todd has been pointed at several times, and we're all talking from media outlets. This is not at all the first time that a major news outlet has claimed that they think that Adam Back is Satoshi Nakamoto. Same thing can be said for Peter Todd and and Hal Finney and the rest of these guys. Dude, can we talk about timing? Think about it. We got quantum FUD being perpetrated by Nick. I'm just blaming Nick Carter. I honestly think it's all Nick Carter that's organizing the whole quantum FUD thing. I'm probably wrong, but he's been such an ass lately that I might as well just go ahead and point my finger at him, because, hey, the New York Times can point their finger at Adam Back. I'm going to blame Nick Carter for all the quantum FUD. And that just happens to be coming up. And then we got the Mythos thing that just been dropping since, over the last 48 hours. Oh my God, we're all going to die. All right. And now we've got a perfectly placed New York Times article from a Pulitzer Prize winning author, no less, who's been digging for a year trying to figure this out. And that just drops this morning. Can you spell bullshit? I can. This is all bullshit. And what sucks about it is the fact that it just smells coordinated. Again, I smell rats. Oh, David's putting on the tinfoil hat again. Yeah, maybe. But there are some things that I just can't unsee. I've seen FUD cycles before, and they look exactly like this. They look exactly like this. They've happened since I've been in Bitcoin since 2015. And they all cycle the same. So, like there's like a technical piece of FUD, like in the block size wars. And then all of a sudden you get Pulitzer Prize winning authors writing news stories about, well, they found Satoshi Nakamoto. And at the time it was Dorian Nakamoto, the Japanese electrical engineer who was like, dude, I don't actually do that kind of coding. I am an electrical engineer. I think that was Time Magazine that did that one. This is always coordinated, and it's all so tiresome. And we'll survive this one like we survived all the rest of them. And thankfully, we have people like OpenSats who are making sure that people have the money to be able to work on Bitcoin, because the 16th wave of Nostr grants was dropped yesterday from OpenSats. This is from opensats.org. Amethyst Desktop is getting a grant. I don't see how much I don't think that they're saying how much they're giving to this one. But here's one that I found very interesting. This is another one. Nostr Mail is getting a grant from OpenSats. Nostr Mail is an effort to build a complete email system on top of the Nostr protocol, allowing any public key to function as an email address. This project consists of 4 components: a protocol specification for sending emails between Nostr users with kind 1301, using NIP59 gift wrapping for privacy, a dark SDK for developers who want to integrate Nostr-based email into their own applications, a Flutter client for reading and sending email across iOS, Android, desktop, and web, and SMTP bridge servers that provide backward compatibility with legacy email providers like Gmail and Outlook. To have email, a functional email on the Nostr protocol would be radical. I would love to do that, because I don't have to set anything up. I've already got my NPub, which is generated from my private key. So I can't wait to see what Nostr Mail does. It's going to be great. One of the other 2 names that have been given grants is Nostrord is a Kotlin multi-platform client for NIP29 relay-based groups. It's designed to bring a Discord-like group experience to Nostr across platforms. I want to see that as well. Nurun Nuru. I cannot pronounce this. It's a lot of U's and a lot of N's and a lot of R's. It's a Nostr client available on web and Android, built specifically for the Japanese user base by developer Tammy1A84, with a visual design modeled on the familiar line messaging interface. So we got one specifically for Japanese users. It should be interesting. But without people like OpenSats funding open source development, we'd find ourselves in, a little bit worse off of a situation than we are, right? So kudos to those guys. On to AI. Fifth Element. Mila Jovovich reveals AI memory tool called MemPalace. Jason Nelson is writing about this little hottie. Decrypt.co says that she is not content with battling aliens and zombie hordes. Mila Jovovich, the actress best known for roles in The Fifth Element and Resident Evil, has shifted her focus to artificial intelligence. You thought Bitcoin miners going to AI was bad. Jeez Louise, we got Hollywood stars saying, fuck a bunch of this. Let's go do AI. In a video posted on Instagram on Monday, Jovovich said she spent months developing the AI knowledge tool MemPalace while working on a separate unnamed gaming project. Ooh, she's a gamer. Sweet. After encountering problems with how existing AI systems store and retrieve information. Quote, but during the process, I stumbled upon a bunch of problems that I knew needed to be solved if I was ever going to get it finished, Jovovich said in the video. According to Mila, those challenges led to the creation of Mem Palace, an open source system available on GitHub that she describes as a new method for AI memory, storage, and retrieval. Jovovich said she designed the concept and architecture behind the system, while coder and CEO of Bitcoin lending platform Libra Labs, Ben Sigmund, engineered the software. So we got a Bitcoiner in there. Interesting. Quote, by day, she's filming action movies, walking Moo, fashion shows, and being a mom. But by night, she's a coder, Sigmund wrote on X, teasing that there was more to come. Mem Palace draws inspiration from a mnemonic technique that dates back to ancient Greece, known as the memory palace, or also known as the method of loci. The strategy involves associating pieces of information with specific locations inside an imagined building or an environment. By mentally moving through that space, a person can retrieve the information tied to each location. Jovovich said that she became interested in the concept while researching how memory experts store and recall information. AI developers, including OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic, have added memory features that let their AI assistants retain user preferences and past contexts across conversations. According to Sigmund, in a separate post, instead of sending data to a background agent in the cloud, Mem Palace mines conversations locally and organizes them into a palace. Sean Wren, a USC professor of computer science and CEO of Sahara AI, said Mem Palace can be understood as a different way of structuring how AI systems store information. Because the system functions as a general method for organizing information, Wren said it could potentially work across all AI frameworks. Quote, this seems to be a general approach, so scaling it does not seem to be a problem. It could work with different agent systems, he said. Still, Wren cautioned that claims about improved performance have not yet been validated outside of controlled tests. Quote, that's not proven, he said, noting that early results appear to rely on benchmark experiments that may not fully reflect real-world deployments. Quote, we need to wait to see how the community reacts when deploying it in real systems, end quote. Jovovich said Anthropic's Claude helped shape the project after Sigmund introduced her to the developer tool. Quote, I immediately realized that as an artist who loves to write, Claude could turn my words and ideas into reality, Mila Jovovich said. But she emphasized that the experience reinforced her view that human creativity still drives meaningful breakthroughs in artificial intelligence. Quote, AI only knows what's already been done, Jovovich said. It's the humans running it that actually creates something unique and different, end quote. The project is currently open source, and Jovovich encouraged developers to download the code, test the system, and offer feedback. Quote, that's the only way we can correct mistakes and truly keep improving the way that we store our information. Well, just get Mythos Preview to do it for you there, Mila. It's going to find all your bugs and exploits. It's going to be great. No, really, at first I kind of thought that this was a joke. You know, oh God, here's this pretty little girl actress. You know, everybody thinks she's like totally hot, and she's a pretty woman. Let's be clear. I mean, have you seen Resident Evil? Dude. But what ends up happening here is that she's bringing to light something that I think is incredibly important about how we move forward thinking about what AI is. I said it on Nostr yesterday. We've reached a step function. Now, people will, please don't accuse me of being like an AI acolyte. I'm not. I'm just as skeptical of AI as I am kind of excited about it. I can hold both of those ideas together at the same time in my mind. But what it looks like to me is that the entire history of human engineering, and I'm talking, theoretical math, physics, chemistry, engineering, technology, the whole of human history up into this point has now been packaged and boxed and gift wrapped, but moreover, replicated, copied an infinite amount of times. When I say copied an infinite amount of times, I don't mean that means that like I'm adding two of these boxes together to make, something even bigger. No, we're dealing with exactly where we are right now at our level of technology, but we're able to pass it on to every single person on the planet. And every person that gets that box now has the potential to not as much understand it as much as functionally add to it. And she says it right here. I immediately realized, this is a quote, I immediately realized that as an artist who loves to write, she doesn't say write code. She's talking about her as an artist, not as a technologist. So when she says she loves to write, I don't think she's writing code. I don't think that she's I didn't look into her background. I know that there's at least one, like Dolph Lundgren. If you look at his academic background, it will blow you the fuck away. And that's the dude that played the mean Russian in Rocky 3 or whatever it was, or Rocky 4, I can't remember. It's the big, tall guy, and he was he'd been in a lot of martial arts movies and a lot of action movies. And yet people were like, I just some big, dumb, blonde, good-looking Russian guy. And he's got a fucking PhD in chemistry or something like that. I mean, he's a smart guy. I think he actually had a Fulbright scholarship as well. I mean, he's a very, very smart guy. And he liked doing action movies instead of being in a lab. But good for him. Good for Dolph. And I was thinking that Mila Jovovich might have the same background, but I didn't check, and I don't need to. I'm just looking at what she's writing here. That she immediately realized that as an artist that she loves to write. And Claude could turn her words and her ideas into a reality. So leveraging, using this box, this gift-wrapped box of the whole of human engineering, and I'm just putting all technology into that box, whether it's chemical or technological or computer science, whatever, it all goes into the box. That she can actually leverage her own mind to add to it. Because the understanding of what's in the box is like a pipeline between her and AI, between me and AI. I think it's a good idea for people that want to use Claude to write computer code to have some kind of background in coding for various reasons. However, that doesn't mean that you don't have a good idea for something that needs to be coded up. Marty Bent showed us about that when he came out with he basically vibe coded that thing for turning all prices on any internet page directly into how much Bitcoin it would actually cost. So it would do an on thing conversion. But it took an actual coder to take what he did and turn it into something that would actually work long term and not have maintenance issues or clear out the bugs, because Marty Bent isn't a coder and neither is Mila Jovovich. But she can talk and she has ideas. We have a step function of humanity occurring right before our eyes. And we are either going to be able to use that step function to get into the next phase of humanity, and the people that do will enter into the next phase of humanity, and the people that are just like, this is stupid and it's never going to work, are going to be left behind. And it's okay no matter which way you go. That's up to you. I'm not making any prognostications. I'm not making any moralizations about anybody's wants or needs here. I'm just saying what is. I'm like the umpire. Hey, it's a ball. Hey, that was a strike. Hey, you're out. That kind of shit. But right now, we have a different landscape that we're navigating. And Mila is somebody who can say, I can hook up with a coder. And it just happens to be a Bitcoin coder. I had no idea Mila Jovovich knew any Bitcoiners. And all of a sudden, she's teamed up with one, and there may be a very good tool that other AI stuff can actually use. Does it work? I don't know. Is it good? I don't know. That's not the point. The point is that this actress is like, I have ideas too. And this will be the first time that I will be able to put something that I think of as technology into a format that can actually run on a computer, whereas before I would be locked out of that world. Nobody's locked out of any world anymore. That's what I'm trying to say. This is an important thing for humanity at this point. And honestly, it doesn't matter if you think that AI is a bunch of horse shit or not. I don't believe it is horse shit. I do believe it's horse shit that people are scaring everybody to death that they're all going to lose their jobs. I don't think there's any place for that at all. Humanity's been through that crap before. We survived just fine. We will go through it again and we will survive just fine. But right now, being alive, to witness what we're witnessing is kind of a curse as well as a gift. And then there's quantum and Bitcoin. Quantum attack on Bitcoin mining would require the energy of a star. This is out of Atlas 21 and is going to finish us up for the day. 2 recent academic papers shared on X by Novak and VK offer a far more sober picture than the alarmist headlines that periodically rattle crypto markets. The first study, authored by Pierre-Luc Dallier-Demers, that's a big name, and the team at BTQ Technologies, and published in March of 2026, by the way, analyzes the feasibility of a quantum attack on Bitcoin mining. Okay, this is a little bit different than Bitcoin signature addresses, but it is what it is. The second paper, authored by Peter Gutmann at the University of Auckland and Stephen Newhouse at the Zuricher Hochschule in Switzerland, systematically dismantles every alleged quantum factorization breakthrough of the past 20 years. Bitcoin security relies on 2 distinct types of cryptography, and quantum computers threaten them in different ways. Shor's algorithm targets wallet security. In theory, it would allow a sufficiently powerful quantum computer to derive a private key from a public key, enabling an attacker to seize funds. Then there's Grover's algorithm, on the other hand. It applies to mining, offering a theoretical speed up in the search process that miners perform to find valid blocks. These 2 threats are often conflated in newspaper headlines, but they carry very different implications once real physical limitations are taken into account. The BTQ Technologies paper examines whether a quantum computer could actually outpace Bitcoin miners using Grover against SHA-256, the mathematical function underpinning the actual mining process itself. The conclusions are clear-cut. At January 2025 mining difficulty, a fleet of quantum miners would need approximately 10 raised to the 23rd qubits, consuming 10 raised to the 25th watts of energy. That's an amount equal to roughly 3% of the sun's energy output. By comparison, the entire current Bitcoin network consumes around 15 gigawatts. Each step of the algorithm would require hundreds of thousands of delicate operations, each supported by thousands of qubits dedicated to error correction. A quantum 51% attack, the researchers conclude, is not merely expensive, it's physically unfeasible at any scale a real civilization could power. The second paper takes a deliberately satirical approach to make a serious point. Gutmann and Newhouse replicated every major quantum factorization breakthrough using a 1981 VIC-20 home computer, an abacus, and a dog named Scribble trained to bark 3 times. The joke works because the underlying problem is real. Nearly all demonstrations published to date have used numbers with prime factors very close to each other, easily identified through an algorithmic trick dating back to John van Neumann in 1945, or have performed the hard part of the computation on a classical computer before passing a simplified version to the quantum computer. In a specific case of a paper claiming progress toward breaking RSA 2048, the Auckland researchers recovered the answers of all 10 sample numbers provided as evidence in approximately 16 seconds using a VIC-20 emulator. Neither paper entirely dismisses the long-term quantum threat. The most concrete vulnerability concerns Bitcoin wallets, particularly older or reused addresses where public key information is already exposed on the blockchain. A recent Google study suggests that the computational power required for such an attack could decrease significantly, making wallet cryptography potentially vulnerable in an attack that would take only a few minutes. Although the authors themselves note that building such a machine remains physically impossible and requires engineering advances not yet achieved, developers are already working on solutions, including BIP 360, a proposal aimed at reducing key exposure and introducing new quantum-resistant signature types. So that's the end of the article. Everything is overblown because everybody is on pins and needles. And the same people that are on pins and needles are that way because they have either everything to gain or everything to lose. Fear is more than just running rampant in Bitcoin and crypto markets. The fear index is everywhere. Whether you go to the grocery store, fill up with gas, perform a Bitcoin transaction, look at the Bitcoin price, look at the price of the S&P 500, nobody knows what to do. Meanwhile, sitting in cash isn't the best option in the world either, because everybody knows inflation is just going to kill your purchasing power. So you got to put your money somewhere, hopefully somewhere that makes you more money than inflation, or at least runs neck and neck with it. And in the meantime, I got the New York Times, for whatever reason, thinking it's important to point at Adam Back and say, we've got proof because language ticks that he's Satoshi Nakamoto. I guarantee you this about that whole Adam Back story and using language ticks. I'll say it like this. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. How does that fit? Fits like this. I speak the English language, and I was trained to read and write the English language by my parents in a combination with a private school. My parents would read to me at night. My mom would like trace underneath the sentences as she read. So every word she said was like right at her finger. That's one of the best ways to learn how to read, dude. Learning how to write, mostly that came from school, you know? But what I'm getting at here is that if I have two English speakers and they were even remotely trained in the same way on how to read and write, of course, there's going to be overlapping ticks. They could have this dude could take any two native English speakers at roughly the same age and probably be able to find common writing/language ticks. The fact that people think that this is important is, think about it this way. What would have happened if this paper came out when Bitcoin was sitting at $100,000 somewhere a couple of months before last October? It would have gotten no attention. Nobody would give a shit. But we've got Quantum FUD. We've got Mythos Preview FUD. We've got the whole thing with Iran going on. Are they going to take Bitcoin for the transit of the Strait of Hormuz? Who knows? And all of a sudden, here comes New York Times. As if Nick Carter and his Quantum FUD wasn't enough, now it's the New York Times. And again, I will remind you, I've seen it all before, and I will see this all again. This is not new. This compression of all these attacks coming along to Bitcoin right when people think it's the most vulnerable and it's not, is a standard tactic to keep the price suppressed by scaring the living shit out of regular people. That's what that story is there for. It took him a year. He spent a year on this one story. Bullshit. I'm not saying that he didn't work on it for a year. I'm just saying that this story is not from one solid year from sun up to sundown of him looking for language ticks in Satoshi Nakamoto's emails. It's it's preposterous. Take any two people and you'll probably be able to discover commonalities between them. And by using that to say this person is that person is obvious bullshit. So please, please, please don't give any of this stuff, the quantum stuff, the mythos stuff, don't give over your energy into thinking about this stuff. And I will see you on the other side. This has been Bitcoin and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.